In the small, secluded town of Millbrook, a legend persisted about the old Bennett House. Tucked away at the edge of the forest, it had stood abandoned for nearly 50 years. Stories of eerie noises and flickering lights kept the townsfolk from going near it, and most preferred to believe it was simply a haunted relic of the past. In the small, secluded town of Millbrook, a legend persisted about the old Bennett House. Tucked away at the edge of the forest, it had stood abandoned for nearly 50 years. Stories of eerie noises and flickering lights kept the townsfolk from going near it, and most preferred to believe it was simply a haunted relic of the past. However, that changed when a young couple, David and Laura, moved to Millbrook and decided to restore the Bennett House, drawn by its beauty and the challenge it presented.
I'm a historian with a fascination for old houses.
And I'm an interior designer with a keen eye for restoration.
They were eager to breathe new life into the mansion, disregarding the warnings from locals who spoke in hushed tones about the house's dark past. The Bennett House was a sprawling Victorian with intricate woodwork and tall, arched windows. Inside, the air was musty with the scent of mildew and decay, but the couple saw only potential. They began their work with enthusiasm, stripping away the layers of grime and neglect. One night, after several weeks of labour, Laura was alone in the house. David had gone to town for supplies, and Laura decided to continue working on the upstairs bedrooms. As she was painting a room in the west wing, she heard a peculiar sound, a soft, rhythmic thumping coming from somewhere within the house. It was faint but persistent, like a heartbeat echoing through the walls.
What is that sound? It's so strange.
Laura followed the sound, moving cautiously through the labyrinthine halls. The thumping grew louder as she approached the attic stairs. She hesitated at the top, peering into the darkened space. With a deep breath, she climbed the stairs, her flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. The attic was cluttered with old furniture covered in white sheets, trunks of yellow documents, and dusty portraits of the Bennett family.
This place is a treasure trove of history, but that noise...
The thumping seemed to be coming from a large, ornate wardrobe in the corner. Laura's heart raced as she approached it, her breath misting in the cold air. She opened the wardrobe, revealing an empty space behind it. The thumping was now a dull, rhythmic pounding, and it seemed to come from the wall behind the wardrobe.
It's coming from behind here, but why?
Laura moved the heavy piece of furniture aside, revealing a small door embedded in the wall. The door had a rusty handle and was locked. With a growing sense of unease, Laura took out a small toolkit she had brought with her and pried open the lock. The door creaked as it swung open, revealing a narrow, dimly lit passage. The thumping was louder now, almost deafening.
This is unbelievable. A hidden passage?
Laura took a deep breath and ventured into the passage. The tunnel twisted and turned, descending deeper into the earth. The air grew colder, and Laura's flashlight flickered erratically.
I have to keep going. I need to know what's causing this.
After what felt like hours, she emerged into a large, dimly lit chamber. The room was filled with strange, arcane symbols etched into the walls and a large stone altar in the center. On the altar was a single, dusty journal. Laura picked up the journal, her hands trembling. The pages were filled with frantic scrawls recounting the life of a man named William Bennett, the last of the Bennett family. According to the journal, William had been a man obsessed with immortality. His writings spoke of rituals and sacrifices intended to prolong his life beyond natural means.
This is horrifying. What did he do in here?
Laura's blood ran cold as she realized the thumping sound had been coming from beneath the altar.
It's coming from below. What have I stumbled upon?
She carefully moved away a section of the stone, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a decayed skeletal figure bound in chains. The eyes of the skeleton seemed to stare directly at her, and the thumping sound ceased abruptly, as if acknowledging her presence. Suddenly the walls of the chamber began to tremble, and the air was filled with a low, guttural growl.
Oh no, what is happening?
Laura turned to see shadows coalescing around her, taking on the shapes of distorted, menacing figures. Panic surged through her as she stumbled back through the passage, emerging into the attic once more. She rushed down the stairs and out of the house, barely able to control her breathing.
David, you won't believe what I found.
Laura found David outside, just arriving with supplies. She hurriedly told him what she had discovered, her voice trembling.
There's a skeleton in there and the shadows, they were moving.
Her voice quivered with fear as she recounted her harrowing experience. David, initially skeptical, agreed to check the attic.
When I entered the house, the atmosphere was eerily calm.
He found the passage and the chamber, but the skeleton and the journal had vanished.
My skepticism began to waver as we returned to town.
The next morning, they went to the local library to investigate the Bennett family history further.
We need to find out more about the Bennett family.
There, they uncovered a shocking revelation. The Bennett family had been involved in a tragic accident decades ago. An accident that had left the house abandoned and forgotten.
The twist to the story was not in the supernatural occurrences, but in the hidden truth about the house's past.
It turned out that William Bennett had indeed performed dark rituals, but not for immortality. His goal was to trap his own soul in the house, ensuring he would never truly die.
The thumping I heard was the sound of his trapped spirit attempting to escape.
The skeletal remains were not of a failed experiment, but of William himself, who had succeeded in his dark quest, but was left in a purgatory of his own making. The house was never the same for Laura and David.
We completed our restoration, but felt an undeniable presence lingering in its corners. A reminder of the dark history we had uncovered and the eternal watch of William Bennett's trapped soul.
The couple eventually moved away, unable to shake the feeling that the house still echoed with the restless spirit of its last doomed inhabitant.